In this video, we will solve quadratic equations using the factoring and zero product rule. So what is a quadratic equation? It's a polynomial equation of degree 2. You need to know what standard form looks like for a quadratic equation. Standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So we've been dealing with these type of expressions, but we haven't really talked about equations. So an example of a quadratic equation looks like y equals x squared plus 3x minus 10. You guys are used to seeing this trinomial. We've been working on factoring those. What we're going to be doing is solving for the roots of these equations. The roots mean the x values, where y is equal to 0. So where y is equal to 0, we're going to be solving for these x values. There are several methods on how to do this. The first method that we're going to explore is factoring. But first, before we do that, we need to understand the zero product rule. So we know product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So we need to ask ourselves, how can we multiply two quantities together to get 0? Well, how do you multiply and get 0? Well, we have two quantities here that have to equal 0. Well, either the first one is 0, where it would be 0 times something, and that would give us 0. Or the second factor is 0, where we have something times 0 is equal to 0. So we have options. This means that we possibly have more than one solution. We have where this part could be 0 or where this part could be 0. So let's use that factoring method that we've used before and that zero product rule. We can find the solutions of a quadratic equation by factoring rather than graphing. We'll do graphing later. Follow the steps below. So given this quadratic equation, y equals x squared plus 3x minus 10. First, we're going to set the quadratic equation equal to 0 because the roots occur where y is 0. So 0 goes in place for y. Now this looks like a trinomial that we've been used to factoring. X squared plus 3x minus 10. We could do our diamond, what multiplies to be negative 10 and adds to 3. Once we factor this, we get 0 equals, and then we have our two factors. Notice that this factor times this factor has to equal 0. So either the first one is 0 or the second one is 0. Those are our options on how to get 0. So either x is negative 5 when we subtract 5 from both sides here, or x is 2 when we add 2 to both sides here. So this means we have two answers. Either x is negative 5 or it's 2. So we have a set of possible solutions. This right here represents the values that will make the equation equal to 0. And we have more than one. All right, so let's practice a little. Here I have a quadratic equation, x squared plus 6x minus 27 equals 0. Notice it's already equal to 0 for us, so we're ready to factor. So once we factor, we have x plus 9 times x minus 3 equal to 0. According to the zero product rule, either x plus 9 is 0 or x minus 3 is 0. So solving this equation, we get x is equal to negative 9. Solving this equation, we get x equals 3. And then we write our solution as a set of our possible solutions. These next three are on your own. Notice here, it's already equal to 0, so we can get ready to factor. But notice this isn't a trinomial. We have x squared minus 8x. Here we're actually going to factor by GCF. I'm pulling out an x, and I have x times x minus 8 is equal to 0. That doesn't change the zero product rule, though. We still have the first factor that's x, And we have the second factor that's x minus 8. So either x is 0 or x minus 8 is 0. So there's no solving to do on that left-hand side. And we add 8 to both sides and we get 8. So our solution is 0 or 8. Notice though that this does not represent a point. This is not a location on the graph. These are both x values. So 0 is an x that's going to make this entire thing 0, or 8 is an x that's going to make this entire thing 0. All right, the next two are on your own. Notice here, we have x squared plus 4x equals 21. It's not equal to 0 though. So what we have to do is get it in standard form first where it is equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, we can't factor it yet. So we move the 21 over. So we have x squared plus 4x minus 21 is equal to 0. Now we're ready to factor. So I have x plus 7 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. Zero product rule tells me either x plus 7 is 0 or x minus 3 is 0. So x is negative 7 or x is positive 3. And so our solution is negative 7, 3. These next sets of problems are on your own. Make sure that they're equal to 0 before you start factoring or solving. Maybe look for GCFs first.